The communication and the trust among the coaches and the players was evident on Monday in the Cardinals' big win over the Baltimore Orioles.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Haffern, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Louvre, and a lifetime Cardinals fan, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter X at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. Want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube. Stop by, like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use the code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB, for your first deposit match up to $100. So the Baltimore Orioles, we know they are good. They're one of the best teams in baseball. They were 29-15 coming into last night's game, and for good reason. They've got talent everywhere, littered all over the field, so much that the number one prospect in baseball, Matt Holliday's son, Jackson Holliday, is not on this team right now. Isn't really needed either. They brought him up for a bit. He struggled mightily. I think he was like 2 for 34 or something like that. It was really, really bad. And they sent him back down. He's doing fine at AAA. But when you look at their team, they don't need him. They're okay without him. They've got plenty of offense. They lead the major leagues in home runs. They're sixth in OPS. They've got pitching, sixth in ERA, fourth in WHIP, fourth in batting average against. Their defense is really good. And it took years of being a terrible team, to finally build their team up into this powerhouse that it has become. Now, they haven't won anything yet. Okay, let's not just hand the trophy over to them, but they've got a very, very good team. I think a lot of organizations in Major League Baseball are jealous at what the Baltimore Orioles have been able to put together. I know as a Cardinals fan, I would love to see a farm system like that for the Cardinals. The Cardinals got a couple of pieces from them, and Cesar Prieto and Drew Rom and Showalter. So they did take a little bite out of what the Orioles have built. But on Monday, the Cardinals, that's right, your fourth place St. Louis Cardinals were the ones who came out on top. And it had a lot to do with Sonny Gray. Now, Sonny Gray, we know, brought in to be the ace of this pitching staff, brought in to be the man to set the tone. And on Monday night, he did all of that. He did all of that and then some against these mighty Orioles. He had him hitless for 5 innings, was just moving right through them, carving them up, struck out 6, bunch of ground balls. I mean, he was dominating this Orioles lineup. And during this time, the Cardinals were able to take a 5-0 lead. So Sonny and the boys were sitting there comfortably. Although, if you do remember, Sonny had a 5-run lead against the Angels that evaporated in his last outing. But things ended up getting hairy in the 6th inning when the Cardinals defense, which has been outstanding. I'm not here to bash the defense by any means, because other than what happened in the 6th inning, this defense was awesome in this game on Monday. But they let Sonny down on back-to-back plays. First hitter Cedric Mullins pops one into shallow left, and it just kept carrying and floating into left field. And Mason Wynn kept drifting out there, and the ball ends up going off his glove and falls in shallow left field. It was ruled an error on Mason, although if it was me, I probably would have gave him a hit, but I don't know if it had to do with the fact that it was still a no-hitter going on or not, but that's a tough error. But anyway, clearly Donovan or Siani should have called Mason Wynn off on that play. They were both there, and when you saw the ball fall, you saw both of their reactions like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Simple play, should have been made, but you got to move on from that, right? It happens. Then your next hitter, on the very next pitch, in fact, Jorge Mateo, he rips one right at Mason Wynn at shortstop. This is a perfect double play ball, and it handcuffs Mason Wynn, boots it. Now you got 2-1, nobody out, back-to-back errors on Mason Wynn. Bad spot to be against a good team, right? The good teams like the Orioles, you give them an inch and they're going to burn you. And that's exactly what happens. The reigning AL Rookie of the Year, Gunnar Henderson, comes up next, has a tough at bat against Sonny Gray, ends up ripping a 3-run shot to center field for the O's first hit of the game, their first runs of the ball game. And all of a sudden, what looked like might be a little bit of a laugher for the Cardinals, who are up 5-0. Now you're looking at a 5-3 ball game, and now things are a little bit tight because you know how good that Baltimore team is. The pitch that Henderson hit was it was a sweeper, one of Sonny's best pitches, one of the pitches that's made him an elite pitcher in the major leagues. And in fact, according to John Denton at MLB.com, he hadn't given up a home run on that particular pitch, on the sweeper, since 2022. He entered Monday having thrown 100 of them without giving up an extra base hit, through 578 of those in 2023 and allowed just 4 extra base hits, none of them home runs, making it the game's most effective pitch of that season per Baseball Savant. So this is not normal, but it's another home run given up by Sonny Gray, who continues to have a little bit of trouble with the long ball in his last couple of games. I'm not like, it's not this alarming rate where you're just like, oh my God, he's terrible. He's like on a Lance Lynn projection from last year. It's nothing like that, but it's still something to keep an eye on, considering the Cardinals pitching staff continues to give up home runs, a lot of them so far this season. Sonny Gray, who only gave up 8 last year, is getting close to already matching that here, and we are in the back end of May. So long season to go. So back to the game on Monday, like the old Energizer Bunny, the inning just kept going and going and going. He gets Adley Rutschman to fly out after a tough 8-pitch at bat. Then you get a single to center field, then an infield single where Nato did everything he could to try to get the runner at first. And now the O's are threatening to grab the lead. You've got the tying runs on base. You got the go-ahead run at home plate. He gets Anthony Santander to fly out on a 6-pitch battle. And that's when Sonny made the motion that everybody saw on camera, that he was like, if you're watching me on YouTube, he kind of did this with his glove, like, come and get me, because he was cooked. And I know some feared that Sonny was injured at that point. I didn't think that at all. I think he was just like, I'm exhausted, dude. I mean, he was profusely sweating. I mean, it was a tough inning for Sonny. 31 pitches, a lot of high leverage and tough at bats. It was a warm night at Busch Stadium. It was sticky out there, and it just did Sonny in. He had everything going for him rolling into that 6th inning, and then a lot of things happened. And Chip Carey and Brad Thompson even pointed out on the telecast the amount of arm side misses that Gray had going on there, where you could see the fatigue was setting in. And instead, and give credit to Sonny Gray on this, instead of trying to gut his way through it, which a lot of people would have done, right? One final batter to get through 6 innings. I can do it for my team. I can do it. Gray did the smart thing. He knew his limits. He knew what was going on with his body, with his arm, how he was feeling, the fatigue that was setting in. He'd given everything he'd had, and the smart play was to let a fresher arm come in and try to get him out of the inning. And that's what they did. After the game, Gray said, as much as I want to be like, oh man, I'm tough, I just thought leaving the game was the right thing to do. I was just kind of saying to Marmol, hey, I've got nothing left. And it takes a big man to admit that. The competitor inside any athlete sometimes isn't the smartest voice to listen to. And in that particular moment, Sonny sided with the side of caution. And it was what was better for the team. And it proved out to be the right move, because Jojo Romero comes in next and finishes the inning off. And it really speaks to the relationship. And I think fans are going to respect this, even the ones that aren't so happy with Ollie, that it speaks to the relationship that Ollie has built with Sonny Gray in a very short time, in just a couple of months, and a relationship that continues to develop. And I'm guessing he's having a similar type of relationship building process going on with other guys in the clubhouse. I mean, much to the chagrin, again, of the folks who want Ollie fired and want him out of here, these players like him and they trust him. You've never heard anything different from anyone so far this season. And Sonny spoke on this too, saying that's kind of the relationship that's being developed. And I was just being honest. I know that Ollie has given me some leeway in the last game, and I can honestly tell him that I felt good in those situations. And I can honestly say that I hit a wall there in the middle of that Santander at bat. Then after the at bat was done, I was just being honest. And Ollie clearly trusts his guys to give him an honest opinion on how they're feeling and what they're doing out there on the field. So he's going to give his boys the benefit of the doubt. Even when they're wrong, he's going to stick up for them and give them the benefit of the doubt. Remember the learning moment not too long ago? Ivan Herrera earlier, he hits the double, runners coming around third to score, and Herrera gets gunned out at third base with 2 out, ending the inning. And you saw Ollie pull him aside and go, hey, what were you seeing there? Why were you getting thrown out at third when there's 2 outs already? That's a big no-no in the game of baseball. And he got an honest answer from Ivan Herrera, who said, I was just trying to make sure that the run scored. I wanted to make sure it got in because that was the tying run at that point. And Ollie was like, okay, I get it. I see it. It's a learning moment. Maybe don't do that next time, but they communicated well. They moved on. And in this situation, he trusted Sonny Gray, which he should, to tell him how he felt. Talked about it after the game, saying there's a lot of trust there. He's as direct as anybody. It makes things easier when they are good self-evaluators and they're aware of the situation and communicate clearly. It goes both ways with us. And that's the kind of guys you need. You need honest guys out there. Sonny Gray's not a quitter because he wanted to come out of that game. He was doing what was best for the team in that situation because he didn't think he had enough left to go get that guy, and he didn't want to give up the lead. It was too important. He knew how big this game was for the team, and it's just another sign that things are headed in the right direction with this team mentally, physically. You're starting to see things mesh a little bit. Nothing's perfect. I'm not saying all of a sudden they're on the run and they're going to be making a push for the NL Central lead or anything anytime soon. I'm just saying you're starting to see some good things about a team that is starting to come together and play well together, enjoy their time on the baseball field together. Like, you can just sense it. You can just see it in the way they're going about their business. And it's nice. It sure makes games a whole lot more fun to watch, doesn't it? Especially, because they're winning, but even because the games are more competitive and their at-bats are more competitive. It's not like just this dull offense that's just got nothing ever. Like, these games have been fun to watch. And it doesn't hurt when you're getting production from the bottom of the lineup, too. The bottom half of the order was huge last night, specifically Michael Siani. I want to talk about him because he had a monster night. So we'll get into that next here on Locked On Cardinals. Are you struggling to close deals? B2B selling is tougher than ever, and that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Now, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, it's a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers. It drives higher revenue, and it increases sales performance. Sales Navigator is going to help you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and it shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are more likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator can give you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. Now, right now, you'll be able to try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/locked on. That's linkedin.com/locked on. Once again, you're going to get hooked up here. 60-day free trial. That's 2 months worth. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/locked on and get started today. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Got to turn the volume down because they keep shouting at each other? Well, stop watching it and make the switch to Locked On Sports today. Free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. It's now streaming on 24/7 on YouTube and the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Remember, you can catch every pitch of the Cardinals hometown broadcast. We've got a long way to go in this homestand with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Cardinals. And thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter X anytime you want. Feedback always welcome and encouraged. I would love to get your thoughts on Michael Siani, because that's who we're talking about next. And it brings me a lot of joy. You can see it in my face on YouTube. I love watching Michael Siani play. And one game normally does not change the outlook on a player's full body of work during the season. But as we venture into this back end of the month of May, I think a lot of people are starting to think a lot more highly of Cardinals center fielder Michael Siani. And I'm going to throw some stats at you here in a little bit, which might open your eyes a little more and be like, whoa, gosh, I did not realize he was that good. So for those who don't know, Michael Siani, a player that the Cardinals claimed off of waivers at the end of last year from the now last place Cincinnati Reds, who wish they had a center fielder like Michael Siani playing for them right now. Last season, they grab him, and so far this year, he's become an everyday fixture with the Cardinals lineup. Not something that we thought was going to happen. If you go back to spring training, we weren't even sure if the guy was going to make the roster. It was actually kind of frowned upon that you would have to keep him, considering the amount of talent that you already had built up in your outfield, enough talent where you felt comfortable enough to trade away Tyler O'Neill. Obviously, there were other reasons involved there, but you were like, well, I think we're going to be okay without Tyler O'Neill. You thought Siani would be somebody that would end up in Memphis. And, you had Newbar and Edman and Walker and Carlson, Burleson, Donovan as an outfielder as well. But things changed rather quickly before we got to spring training when we found out about the severity of Tommy Edman's wrist injury. He was going to be your starting center fielder. And then we found out how bad things were. And we weren't really sure when he was going to come back. We still don't know when he's going to come back. All we've heard is that he's making progress and things are headed in the right direction, but he's continuing to work. So we still don't have an answer on when he might be back. But then you had more injuries. Newbar gets hurt again. Dylan Carlson gets hurt again, which propelled Siani back into this opening day picture. But I don't think the Cardinals ever expected him to be a major piece of this everyday lineup by any means. I mean, if the Cardinals had that much faith in what Michael Siani could bring to the table, they probably wouldn't have kept Victor Scott II on the roster to start the year. They would have still slow played it with him like the plan was and just had him start in Memphis. But because they weren't really sure about Michael Siani, they kept Victor Scott II around to see if they could find lightning in a bottle, and it didn't work. The scouting report said that Siani was a very good defensive player, offers a lot of speed. He runs very well in the outfield and on the base pass, but offensively challenged. He didn't have a lot of upside on the offensive side of things. But for the Cardinals' needs, which was just a fifth outfielder at the time, that was okay. And I was all on board with this. I was like, no, this is a great guy to have, because when you've got dudes in the outfield like Jordan Walker, not to bash on him or anything, but when later in games, when you want better defense out there, if you have somebody who could come off the bench and be that guy and take over in that spot, it's nice to have that. So a good defensive substitute, good guy for bunting situations. We've learned that this year. But when Victor Scott's struggles at the plate just became too ugly to ignore anymore, you started to see Ollie put in Michael Siani more and more. And although the offense early on, it wasn't all that special, he was at least participating. Like when the bunt situations were coming up, who was the guy that you wanted to see at the plate? Michael Siani. And then watching him in center field was like, wow. I did not know he was this good. I mean, elite level center fielder. Talking about defense, and we know Cardinal fans love defense, and I'm one of them. Outs above average right now for Michael Siani. He's a +7, which is third among all players, not just outfielders, all players in baseball. His +6 in runs prevented, also tied for third in all of baseball. And then in center field exclusively, because he has played in the corners a few times, his +5 outs above average is tied for first, and his +5 in runs prevented in center field, he's all alone in first place. He's the best defensive center fielder in baseball. And there was a time where I thought Dylan Carlson was more than capable of playing center field at a high enough level that it wouldn't matter. But you go see Michael Siani go for a ball, and then you see Dylan Carlson do it, and boy, oh boy, it is night and day. Siani is just so smooth, and he's quick, and he gets these great jumps on the ball. It reminds me a lot of what Harrison Bader used to do. He makes DC look like he's running in quicksand out there. Like, I don't really want to see Dylan Carlson in center field anymore after how we've seen Michael Siani perform out there. We said at the beginning of the season start that any offense that you get from Michael Siani, added bonus. Okay. That's not what he's in this game for. Added bonus if you get something from him. But it's hard to remove him from the lineup. The offense was so bad for a while there that they kind of were like, dude, we got to put Dylan Carlson in there to see if we can get any offense. And Dylan wasn't delivering either. So they went back to Siani and were like, look, this guy's playing elite level in center field. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to take him out anymore, because when you have a pitching staff that doesn't have as much swing and miss as a lot of other teams, you need that kind of player running things down in the outfield. And just about every game, if you've been watching, he makes some sort of running catch or a sliding play that saves a run or prevents a big inning from getting going and getting out of control. He's been huge out there. And then on Monday, he's just a big reason why the Cardinals were able to jump out to that 5-0 lead. He was the main reason. The Cardinals go up 1-0 on, guess what? A 2-out RBI by Michael Siani in the second inning. That scores Gorman, who had walked and stole second base. Cardinals had 4 stolen bases on Monday. It was awesome. Then in the fourth inning, Burleson and Herrera lead off with singles. Gorman whiffs, which brings up Mason Wynn, who rips an RBI double to make it 2-0. Then Siani steps in. He falls behind 0-2. Should have been punched out on the 0-2, the pitch after the 0-2 count. That was a strike. It was. Not even close. How the home plate umpire missed that, I don't know. Major blown call by him. Fortunately for the Cardinals, it gave Siani some extra life, because on the 2-2 pitch, he rips one. Just rips one. A four-seamer inside part of the plate into the Cardinals bullpen. 3-run shot, blows things open 5-0, and the Cardinals are off and running. Siani's first major league home run, 103 off the bat. And that swing tripled his RBI total on the year. He only had 2 coming into the game. Now got 6 after yesterday's game. According to John Denton, Siani plans to give the home run ball to his parents, Ralph and Kristen, who they will see next week when the Cardinals have to play in Philadelphia, which is where they live. Siani now hitting .341 in the month of May. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. And the Cardinals have been one of the worst power hitting teams in the league, and technically they still are, but they now have home runs in each of their last 8 games and are up to 39 on the year, which I know doesn't sound great, but in the last 15 days, they've hit 16 dingers, which is 4th most in the league over that time. Some other notables on the offensive side last night. You also had Alec Burleson going 2 for 3, had a walk. He's now hitting .301 on the season. Alec Burleson out of nowhere, surprising a lot of people. I'm not hearing so much Burleson hate online anymore. Mason Wynn, 2 for 4, 2 RBIs. I believe I heard 11-game hitting streak for Mason Wynn. You love that. Also heard that his jersey sales are tops among the new City Connects. The Cardinals also drew 7 walks in this game. You got 2 for Newt, 2 for Herrera. Even if they're not getting hits, at least you're getting on base, which is, what we love about Lars Nootbaar. If he goes 1 for 4 in a game, big whoop, because he usually has a walk or 2 on top of that. Normally when Goldie and Arenado are a combined 0 for 8, this offense would just suck. They would nothing. You would get nothing because they didn't do anything. Nobody would do anything. But you're starting to see other guys in this lineup begin to step up, and when other guys don't come through, when it's not on Nato and Goldie and Gorman, when they're not coming through, other people are doing it. And that's what good teams do. Good teams don't just rely on 2 to 3 guys to wear the burden of the entire offense every single night. And you're seeing the confidence continue to rise in these other guys and in the team, and it's leading to better at-bats. You're seeing more competitive games, more competitive at-bats, as I mentioned earlier. And the big thing is more wins. The Cardinals have now won 6 of their last 8. They're 6 games back. First place Milwaukee, 2.5 back in the NL wild card. And you're starting to see the belief at Busch Stadium. And I realize that, with school being out and stuff, that people are going to go to games more. But when they're winning, people really want to be there. And you saw it last night. It was a fun, festive crowd who I know a lot of people wanted to see the Orioles because they're a great team. But at the same time, the Cardinals are starting to play some pretty good baseball. So it's fun to watch. It feels more like St. Louis Cardinal baseball again. So we'll take a look at the new power rankings, see if those moved at all. And we'll preview tonight's game next on Locked on Cardinals. Baseball season is in full swing, so don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. testing my skills on PrizePicks during this baseball season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, because if you've got the skills and you're knowledgeable, which I know a lot of you are, you can turn $10 into $100 with just a few taps. Very simple. Matchup I'm looking forward to for a Tuesday night. You've got the White Sox, Garrett Crochet against the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, they've got him down for more or less than 5 strikeouts right now for Garrett Crochet. 9 of his 10 starts this year, he has either reached that mark or had more than 5 strikeouts in a game. And I know the Blue Jays offense is pretty good, but Crochet, he gets strikeouts, a lot of strikeouts. So that is my pick for tonight. If there's one that I'm eyeing up like that seems like an easy one, it's Garrett Crochet for the White Sox against the Blue Jays. And I also love how quick and simple it is to play. You can make your picks and submit entries in less than 60 seconds. And when you win, you get paid quickly too. So quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types. That's what makes PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's now also available on the Amazon Fire TV. In the free Fire TV channels app, Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On. Plus, we've got our national shows covering every league. You can find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So the new power rankings are out. So let's put that up under the screen there for you on YouTube. There you go. And for my audio people, here's what the top 5 looks like right now. Coming in at #1, best record in baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies. Great team. I was asked by somebody the other day, who's my pick to win in the National League? Because a lot of people are still on board with the Dodgers and the Braves. And I'm like, Philly, man, because when you get the pitching outside of Nola and Wheeler and you've still got 2 guys that are just lighting it up, that's dangerous. That's dangerous with that Philly lineup. Dodgers come in at #2. Then the Yankees, who just had their 7-game winning streak snapped on Monday. Then it's the Orioles, and then the Braves. Now, your bottom 5 of things, you've got the Oakland A's in at #26. Then the Rockies, who had just won 7 in a row, but have now lost 3 straight, coming in at #27. Then it's the Angels, who the Cardinals just took 2 of 3 from, and the Marlins, and then the White Sox, who the Cardinals lost 2 of 3 to, which was kind of a stain on the way things were going at the time. As for the Cardinals themselves, they've scooched up to #23 on the list. So slowly but surely kind of making their way up a little bit. They're now 1 spot ahead of the Reds, who the Cardinals will see next week, beginning on Memorial Day in Cincinnati. The NL Central leading Brewers land at #7 on the rankings. The Cubs, who the Cardinals will see at Busch this weekend for the first time, they're coming in at #9. And then you've got the Pirates, who have been rejuvenated a little bit by the call-up of top pitching prospect Paul Skeens, who was amazing in his last start. They're at #21 on the power rankings right now. So that's how it's all shaking out. Like I said, Cardinals right where they should be right now, even though they're playing better, but they're going to have to sustain the winning for a little bit longer before they even think about jumping into the top 20 on the power rankings. As far as tonight, the Cardinals will send Lance Lynn to the mound. He's got 1 win on the season and 9 starts, and he hasn't really been all that effective recently, which is not so great. When you consider that, Steven Matz is out, so we're having some trouble with that #5 spot anyway. And then one of the guys that you kind of were relying on to be better than this is not doing quite so well. Kind of makes things rough, His last 5 starts, 0-2, 5.84 ERA. Opponents are hitting .299 against him. He's walked 13 hitters, and he's thrown only 24 2/3 innings in those 5 starts. So a little bit less than 5 innings per game, as far as stats. But he's usually pretty much at the 5-inning mark, and then it's over for Lance Lynn. In fact, he's only made it past 5 innings in 1 start so far this season, when he went 7 innings against the Oakland A's, which, by the way, is the only game that he has picked up a W in so far this year. We know the Orioles can hit the ball a long way. They like to hit home runs, and they're good at it. So Lance Lynn going up against this offense, a little bit scary thought to think about when it comes to previewing tonight's game. But We'll see what happens. The Orioles are going to counter with Kyle Bradish, who so far has only made 3 starts on the season, hasn't picked up a win yet, but he's been pretty good in those starts. But he's a guy that doesn't go very far in games either, at least so far this year. And, the Orioles bullpen got used a little bit on Monday night. So maybe that'll fall in favor of the Cardinals. We'll see what happens. First pitch going to be at 6:45 from Busch Stadium. I hope we get another a big crowd out there tonight. That was fun to see, man. Seeing people standing up and clapping and enjoying Cardinals baseball the way we normally do. It was good to see. It was made me happy. All right. Hopefully it made you happy too. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like, subscribe on YouTube. We continue to make that push for 10,000 subscribers. Would love to have you on board if you're not already, because you're the best fans in baseball. And I'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.